All right, we are live, everyone. Let's see if Mr. Zuckerberg allows us to go live. Perfect. We are good. We're in there. So I got my man, my friend, my homie, Eric.
What's
Eric, say
going
hi to
on?
the people.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on, Chris. Appreciate this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Eric, so I wanted to start with kind of like a little introduction. So you are the founder and the CEO of Burnt Phone Marketing Radio,
Yes.
and you do business and all over the world. You're a network marketer. You live in Alaska, and you've been doing big things. So tell me a little bit about you.
So I actually work with a company, Burn Phone Marketing. We just launched Burn Phone Marketing just recently this year. But before in my regular job, I actually distribute groceries to rural Alaska, and a lot of people don't understand that. But that's literally all of these places that I sell to. They have to fly planes in. There's no roads. So I'm the supplier for all of those. And I've been doing that for about 11 years now in Alaska. Father of, well, we have a blended family. So I'm a father of seven. So we have seven kids. Once the youngest is 20 right now, the oldest is 30. So, that's what I do. And I've been an entrepreneur. Literally, I've been in sales all my life, but I've been an entrepreneur since about for about 8 years now. And super excited to what I could share with you guys, and super excited to help you guys out. And really, really, really excited and honored to be on here.
Absolutely. And, Eric, I really love, your story. So, you've been doing this for a long time. And it was funny because we actually did an interview on your podcast. And it was the first time that I was actually interviewed on a podcast. And I was really humbled that you asked me to do that. And during that podcast, I learned so much about the similarities that we have. And so I had shared with you that I was in Alaska and I had flew into Nome, and then I had to flew out to was it Gamble? Um,
Gambler Savunga.
yeah, and I was like, man, that's pretty far out. That's like almost close to Russia. And
Very
you were
close.
like, yeah, that's pretty far out there. And it was just crazy because as soon as you said like you fly, food and merchandise out to the rural parts of Alaska, the first thing that I thought about is where I was at. It was really rural. I mean, it was one, maybe two places that you can get groceries from. It was
Yeah.
just,
So a lot.
yeah, and it's just like it's so it helps you understand like what you should be grateful for, because a lot of people, they complain about all these things. And I remember landing and it was just really isolated, and I felt like really kind of like bad, just because I'm like, here I am complaining about coal. They're thinking about what's available to eat. And what's funny is they were really grateful, really happy, really I mean, in a really good state of mind. So it was really humbling for me to actually be there, and I really appreciated that. So I love what you do. I love the way that your heart to serve. We're gonna just get right in it. So I'm gonna be asking you a few questions, and I just want you to just be yourself. So tell me a little bit about what got you started in your entrepreneurial journey.
So it's actually pretty funny. So I'll go back to literally when I in high school. I was a C student on a good day. Like, I knew that school was not for me, period. So I got into sales. And then in my entrepreneur career, fast forward to about 2013, I ran into this issue. What I'd say is my first marriage didn't go so well, but we
Mm,
had kids. And that's one thing that I tell anyone on here is like, one thing that can really, you got to be prepared for it is a death, a divorce, or some sort of child support thing. It's just totally it's tough. So literally, my entrepreneurial journey started probably 3 to 4 months after that happened, because I was at a position where I was financially, I was in a good place. My new wife had just moved up to Alaska, and we had everything going on. We had a huge house, we had all of this stuff, and then boom, I got slapped with this crazy. I want to call it a lawsuit, but it was just a crazy turmoil time, and literally 40% of my income was gone.
Mm.
I
That's
had to
tense.
I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I actually was already, I never thought of network marketing. I never thought of it at all. I never thought that it was a way to do anything. But I jumped into network marketing and I was like, I can sell. I'm a good salesperson. And that's one of the things that you got to learn right away. Salespeople in network marketing, they're great at first, but they never last very long because they it's one level. Like one level in sales is one level. It's like you're thinking transaction, but when you get into network marketing, you start to see that it's the people, it's more than just transactions. You're building a team, you're building a culture, and I'd say that that's one of the things that you really need to do in network marketing, actually in life, in what you're doing in marriage, is build a culture around a vision that you're getting to. And that's what I found. And it was very humbling because I jumped out of the gate and hit the top level of my company in about 60 days, actually about 67 days. And I mean, there's a higher rank, but literally the top rank, I hit that in about 67 days. And it was just crazy because I was a salesperson.
Yeah.
And most salespeople right off the bat in network marketing can do real well.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my journey. And my real goal was with that was I just got to cover the 40% that I lost. I
Yeah.
just got to cover the 40% that I lost. And it's amazing what happens when network marketing gets into you. One of my mentors, Tony Zalecki, says, once you get bit by the network marketing bug, you just can't. You'll always want to or be in network marketing.
Yeah. And you have a lot of passion for network marketing. So just because, I think oftentimes, we think that the things that are common for all are not usually common, right? So, common sense isn't really common. So, what I wanted you to do is probably just break down real quick a little bit of what network marketing is, because there's a misconception as to what that is. So, if you can just kind of maybe give us a quick, little skinny on what network marketing is.
So I'm actually going to kind of tell you what most people get with network marketing that are not in network marketing. I just
Yes.
did a survey on. I did 100 people about what their biggest issue with network marketing is. And one of the biggest things in network marketing, and that's why there's a big stigma, is one, they hear about Amway and they hear about these other companies that have been around for a long time, and the model's totally changed. Like it's still a distribution model, but what people need to understand is a lot of people, they'll see it, well, they'll try to pitch you, and they're very not transparent
Mm-hmm.
at all. Like they're trying to be your friend, and they're trying to do this, and they're trying to do that. And what a lot of people do is like they're like, "Look, man, if you would have just told me that you were trying to pitch me on something, it would have been cool to,
Yeah.
on the front side." And that's the big stigma. It's like I'm going to invite you over to my house party, my house, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's some big presentation. You're like, "Whoa, this isn't what I signed up for."
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really feel that network marketing has got that bad stigma, and they got the bad stigma because they're always like, "Oh, it's a scam, or it's this, or it's a pyramid, or it's."
Yes.
I never get that anymore. I never get that anymore.
So
Um,
let me ask you this, because you're touching on something, and I think this is something that a lot of people deal with. So for example, I had a friend invite me. They're like, "Hey, man, I love what you do." And I felt like what you're saying, like they made it seem like they were interested in what I was doing. So, hey, I love what you do. I wanted to see if you'd be interested in this opportunity. You want to come over? And then you get there, and it's a pitch fest about like not network marketing, but it was a pitch fest about he like, hey, buy into this company, and when you buy into this company, get more people to come in. And instead of just saying, hey, there's this opportunity where I work for an organization, and the more people I bring in, it helps me, but the more people you bring in, it helps you. And just being upfront and honest, I think that's the simplest way to do it. But you're right. Like, I think what made you successful is building relationships.
that's it. It's it. If you can build a relationship, people buy from who they know, like, and trust.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
It's all about that. And people also, when you cast a vision, when you future cast a vision on this is where we're going,
Mm-hmm.
that's what people buy into, because they always want to be in something that's bigger than them. Because if they, they can sit in their cubicle or their 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. I have one. It's not really 9 to 5, but I have one. But they can sit there, and what's funny is some people need to be employees. Some
Mm-hmm.
people don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, and you can't teach it, but you can kind of push them to that level where they'll see a little bit more of it.
Because not everybody has a good work ethic, and I think that's the problem is you have to build up. And so one of our mutual friends, Steve Larson, puts it like this: if I was to start at $1 million business, I would not be able to thrive because I didn't know how to deal with $100,000 business.
Right.
It's just you can't go where you haven't been. You have to like gradually get there. And I think what everybody wants to do is they want to skip the first step.
There's like Steve says, there's a framework to everything.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
and I just did a podcast with a good friend of mine, and they're 7-figure earners, and they said that they weren't ready for the check.
Mm-mm.
Like, they weren't ready for that big check at the time when they were going through it. And that's the thing, is like, a lot of people are like, I just want to make this much, or I just want to do this, or I just want, once I get here. And that's how it is in any business. Oh, once I get here, everything's going to be okay. Or once I get here, everything's going to be okay. No, it's not. You're getting prepped for where you're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we got some friends on here saying hi. So we got Ashley, we got Sharita, we got Deborah, Jessica. Let me see if they have any questions. Mom, we got Tim, we got Steve. All right. So Deborah says I was raised in Saudi. I'm gonna actually bring it on to the. Let me see. We're gonna drop this over here, and we're gonna actually try to bring her comments on camera. So she says she was raised in Saudi Arabia. My dad worked for Amco Oil and then moved to Florida. So I dream of coal. So she was saying that she loves Alaska. That's her dream state. And one of the things that I think we tend to kind of like not really understand is that as you grow and you learn about yourself, about your weaknesses, your strengths, you get better so that you can serve better, so that you can become better, and then your business can be better. But oftentimes we want to skip, like you were just saying, the framework. You want to skip that first step. You have to get good first, and I don't say that in the slightest. And what I mean by getting good is like you have to take your bumps, you have to grow, you have to experience things, because when you have the challenges, how are you going to respond? Well, most people don't respond, they react, and they don't
Right.
react the right way because they aren't prepared.
Right. They haven't been through the struggle. Like on my
Mm-hmm.
podcast, I always say dream, struggle, victory. And if
Yep.
you're going straight from dream to victory, your story is too condensed. I mean, there's no substance in your story. So people relate to the struggle. I always say people relate to the struggle because
You do.
that's the most relatable part. The
Yep.
victory is not the victory is what everybody aspires to, and the
Mm-hmm.
dream is just you thinking, but the struggle is you doing. And that's the thing in network marketing. A lot of people don't want to do the part. One of my mentors says it's network marketing, not net sit marketing, not net watch marketing, network marketing. So you got to do the work part.
And my sister said, I'm very interested in helping veterans. And I know she is. She has a big heart for veterans. She is a veteran. So you have some history with veterans as well. Um, and so before we get there, though, what's been your biggest challenge in marriage and in business, and what did you do to overcome it?
So that's a good question. I'm going to start with the marriage part because
Okay.
that's an easy one. So the biggest challenge that I've had in my marriage. I'm actually We're going to New York next month because it's our 10-year anniversary.
Oh,
We've been married
congratulations.
for 10 years. So, I mean, we hit a good mark. It's not the best mark, but we hit a good mark. The biggest challenge in my marriage has always been communication.
Mm,
And it's funny because everyone's like, well, you can talk. And even my wife says this, well, you can get in front of the stage and you can talk, or you can get on a call and you can talk and talk and talk. But the communication between us is not awesome. So really what I did was you have to learn yourself to be able to
mm,
trust yourself
mm.
more than and be able to articulate what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple of your lives, and that is definitely something. I mean, you need to know yourself. Like you
Mhm.
can't you can't expect somebody to you can't expect the expectations if you don't have the own expectations in yourself. And
Absolutely.
that was one thing I had to work on. I had to work on the communication, like what I wanted, how I wanted it, you know what I mean? And just being very transparent. And that's really helped out in my marriage. The funny thing is in business, it's all about what I found was the biggest struggle was building better, stronger relationships.
Mm, mm,
Because when you build great, like in my business right now for the distribution, I have some phenomenal relationships with my clients,
mm.
and I don't even call them customers anymore. Everybody's a client.
Yeah.
Everybody's a client. So I have phenomenal relationships, and it's not just like it's not first level relationships. It's
Mm.
like, I mean, you saw how it was when you're out in rural Alaska.
Absolutely.
How they act. They are very um, loving people. They're
Oh
very
my goodness.
loving, very trusting people. And that's one thing. And family's a big thing. So I always try to get into like talk to their family, or at least know who they are. So it's a relationship that people know, like, and trust you, and it's huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, it makes a big difference. And that so one thing that I did was I really focused on relationships. I didn't focus on the sale. I focused
Mhm.
on the relationship. And when you do that, you create a long-time customer or a long-time client versus a transactional client. And that you can convert into network marketing too.
And that's powerful because I think a lot of people, this is where a lot of people miss it, right? So you talked about relationships, you talked about communication and how important that was, and then you saw how that communication trickled into the business and it built solid relationships, right? And me and Sharita talked about this yesterday. Oftentimes what tends to happen is we tend to not necessarily undervalue, but not necessarily put as much stress on the right things in our relationship because we're there. Like I'm in this relationship, so you know what I meant. You know what I
Uh-huh.
what I wanted to say. You you know me. Like it's Chris talking. Like it's Eric talking. Like come on. Like I didn't mean anything by that. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the delivery, the voice inflections, the your body language, everything that you do tells your spouse if you're fully present, how you're there, how you're showing up. And so it's powerful because I think people think there's this big misconception about leadership. And it's like, I lead in business, I lead at work. The first place that you lead, your first ministry is in your home.
Mm-hmm.
The first person you lead and the hardest person to lead is yourself. So if
Right.
you can lead yourself, you can lead anybody else, and you have to lead yourself so that you can be better in your relationship. And I'm so grateful for you, my friend. I mean, it's so amazing that every time you have an opportunity, if you're not working, you jump on a live, you say hi, and it's so encouraging because I don't think a lot of people realize whether it's on your radio show, whether it's and I told you I went through and I downloaded every single one of your podcasts. I listened to them. I called you. I gave you feedback. I was like, man, this is awesome. I love your intro. I love your outro. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then you're like, man, it's simple. Like this is how I did it. And I was like, man, that is pretty simple. But
That is-
it's hard to apply, like to go in and do it. So I truly value you in our relationship. We've developed a great bond. And so, you mentioned that you were married 10 years.
Yes.
And how long have you known your wife?
So it's a funny story. I'm actually in Seattle right now. I do a lot of traveling. I'm in Seattle right now. My cousin, my first cousin, is married to my wife's sister. And it's funny because we met at their wedding.
Oh, wow.
And I was engaged to somebody else. She was the maid of honor and I was the best man. We didn't talk at all. Like we didn't talk at all. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't say a word to each other. And then a couple years later, we were at another wedding. Again, my cousin, same family, and we just hit it off. We started talking. Things were, the timing was better.
Mhm.
We just started talking and talking and talking. And then she was living in Seattle and I was living in Alaska. And I'm like, hey, either I'm moving down there or you moving up here. Which one?
Let's do it. We're
Yeah.
doing this thing.
So yeah, so we've known each other for probably 13 years, 14 years, but we actually kind of started talking to each other probably 12 years ago.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So let me ask you this. So you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing sales. You've been doing network marketing. You kind of you had some challenges that inspired you to get actually more focused in the business. So what inspires you right now? What's your biggest motivation? Your biggest source of inspiration?
So right now, my biggest source, I have three pillars. So I got
Mhm.
my family, I got my Pacific Alaska wholesale business, which is a distribution business, and then I've got my burn phone marketing business.
Mhm.
So what inspires me right now is with burn phone marketing, I'm actually out there just I'm already at my 23rd interview for my podcast. I'm launching that,
Amazing.
and my goal is actually just to help people understand a little bit more about network marketing and how if you tie it into a business and you treat it like a business. And I know that's cliche. I say that all the time on my podcast. I know that's cliche. If you treat your network marketing like a business is a business, most people don't understand. Like you said earlier, that people don't have that drive and they don't have that work ethic. And that's one thing that's hard to teach. But if
Mhm.
people can understand that if you work your business like a business, and I talk about three things, I talk about getting leads, I talk about making sales, and I talk about controlling expenses.
Mhm.
And everyone always says, well, why do you talk about controlling expenses? I said, because it's a real business. And if you're controlling your expenses, that means you're generating revenue.
Yes. Because if you don't control your expenses, you're losing.
Right. Right. So, and that's the three things I do there. And then with my paw business, man, my focus is actually just growing and being a better overall provider to my clients. I'm doing a lot with Facebook, and I'm applying a lot of stuff that I learned in network marketing and a lot
Mhm.
of stuff that I'm learning at the One Funnel Away Challenge and all of that, that marketing stuff. I'm applying that more to my clients, and they're loving it. And then,
Absolutely.
with my family, all my boys are, they're all out of the house, and well, I have one at the house, but we barely ever see him. But yeah, they all have their own jobs, they all have their own things, but my goal is, always to have some sort of family dinner
Mm.
on Sundays, and always take them on a trip every single year, one trip.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that I had, you know, asked you is because we talked a little bit and I was just kind of like we were joking around and do you remember how we met?
I think I saw one of your slides. By the way, your slides are ridiculous. I reached out and I'm like, bro, can I borrow these?
And
It
you
was
know what's
one funnel
funny?
away. I think it was two challenges ago. What was
Yeah,
that?
and so what we did is we talked and I was like, yeah, no problem. And so I think one of the things that we talked about there is and I'm not sure if you remember, but you mentioned about the slides, and I was like, oh, I didn't think people really cared about them because I've been doing presentations now for a little over like 13, 14 years, like just presentations. And my first presentation, man, I sucked. Like I dropped a big old goose egg. Like the content was great, but I was awful.
Right.
And it was because I did what I saw other people doing.
Mm.
And what they did was they had a whole bunch of words. They read everything from the slide, and it was like dry eyes. I mean, it was awful. And so
You
I
go to
tried to
sleep
do the
without
same thing. I
this.
try to read and you can't read slides. Like people don't engage with that.
Mm-mm.
So I went on this journey to become a better leader, to become a better communicator, to be a better speaker, because I knew that one of my biggest fears and one of my biggest struggles was public speaking. One of my biggest struggles was presentations, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna get better. If I don't get better at anything else, if I don't get good at anything else, I'm gonna get good at speaking, because I know that that's something that I struggle with, and that one of the biggest fears um, is public speaking. That's like the number one fear right now. Public,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And so we're here in the public. We're talking, and so we met during the One Funnel Away challenge. No, since the One Funnel Away challenge, um, what have you done over the last year for your business to help you stay focused on your dreams?
So, so I'm a big follower of Grant Cardone, and
He's a
he said,
machine.
write down your goals every single day, and that's one thing that I've been doing for a long time. Is just writing down my goals every single day and staying hyper focused on them. And then the other thing is aligning myself with something that's bigger than me. And again, that's super cliche, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, well, I want to do this, and I want to change the world." But aligning myself with something that's bigger than me. In fact, I just launched this thing. I just got done doing this 90-day Raven Run challenge with Darren Hart.
Absolutely.
So for 90 days, we had to run or walk at least a mile. And what I found was I started posting about it, and then about 40 days in, people were like, "Wow, you're still doing that."
You're still doing
So
that.
that welcome, the haters will come out, just so you know, while you're still doing that. And then as I started going and going and going, people were like, I really want to do this journey with you, but I feel like it's too late. And I'm like, all right, well, here's the deal. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna do one by myself. I'm gonna launch it. I'm gonna create it. And then I was listening to, I'm getting buy-in from a bunch of people, and I'm listening to Stephen Larson's podcast, and he goes, align it with something bigger than you.
Mm,
So I was
powerful.
like, what do I do? So I just was like, I sent out to three very good business owners and community leaders, and I sent, and that's it. Make sure you have a good network to bounce stuff off of, and so that's what I did. I just bounced off them, and they were like, there was some funding that was cut for this place called Beans Cafe, and I said, all right, that's the one. And literally that day after we picked it, I went down there. I met with the site manager. I met with the marketing manager. I said, man, can I do a video out here? I want to do a quick video. So I launched it. It's called the 100-Day Burn Your Phone Challenge. So I kind of tied it in with burnt phone marketing, but the Burn Your Phone Challenge. And that's what it does. It's been amazing. And our goal is to donate $5,000 to Beans Cafe for their Christmas feast. So the challenge ends December 10th. That'll give them enough time. We'll give them the 5,000. That'll give them enough time to load up the pantries for that Christmas dinner, man. Because Beans Cafe helps a lot of the homeless people. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's powerful, man. And one of the things that I think about is just what we constantly talk about is just making sure that hold on, I just got there we go. All right, cool. All right, this just got switched on us. Having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure why it switched. Here we go. Okay, cool. So one of the things that you said that was really super intriguing. One, congratulations, because actually when we were talking, you mentioned that you weren't even a runner. You didn't even like running. And what's
I hate
funny
running.
is we talk about this in the challenge, like right about day 40, right about day 43, 47 is where you find your voice. Is where you find
Mm-hmm.
your stride. Is where you become who you are designed to be. And I think about that, and the reason I that resonates with me is because as we were talking and going over the things together, the the thing that was super important to me was how you became this great runner. And you ran a record, didn't you?
Yeah, I ran a record. I wasn't the one that ran the most, but I broke a record that I never thought I'd get to. I broke an 8 minute mile. So I did break an 8 minute mile. That was my goal. My goal was to run a 5K and break 8 minutes, and I smoked that. I smoked the 5K. I smoked the 5K, and it was, it was 3 miles is like a good run now. Like a good run now. I never would have thought that 90 days ago, 100, actually 100 days ago, I would have been like 3 miles. You're crazy. I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I can drive there, or let me get my bike.
All right, cool. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with the feed. For some reason, it keeps switching scenes on me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But we'll continue to go. So you ran the challenge. You actually did the challenge. This is your third time, right? Because you did the Raven challenge, you did your own challenge, and you're about to start the new challenge.
Oh, this is my own challenge. The 100 day one is my own
Okay.
challenge.
This is your own challenge. Okay, cool. So let me ask you this. As you did that run and you aligned with something bigger than yourself, you reached out to this business, you talked to them. As you talked to them, they were super excited that you decided to invest in them, that you decided to kind of come and say, what, I want to donate $5,000, and they
Hmm.
were fired up about that. So
They
what does
said they
that
bring
mean
the
to
news
you? Like,
down.
was that?
They said they'll bring the if you bring a check for $5,000, we'll bring the news down. We'll call everybody. I was like, okay.
That's awesome. That is perfect. So, Eric, what excites you the most about the next couple of months? Like, what is your biggest opportunity on the horizon?
So the biggest opportunity right now is finishing out a great year at Pacific Alaska Wholesale. So
Mm-hmm.
we're having a phenomenal year, and I'm just loving the growth, and I'm loving being able to help more people, um, or more of my clients. Uh, Really, I'm super excited because I'm super close to that mark, that 43, 30, 40 mark, where you say you find your voice. I'm
Yes.
so close there in my podcast, and I'm super excited to get to that number. And once I get to that number, I just think it's going to kind of explode. I've got some phenomenal people coming on. The interviews are already done. I haven't released them. In fact, I haven't released your interview, and we did it a while back.
Yeah,
I've got
we're gonna be 45. So when you hit the million, you know, Chris was
there
there
you
with
go.
you.
So
No, but
yeah,
but but
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say your podcast, man. It's amazing. So if you don't mind, what we'll do is we'll drop the podcast link so that people can go listen to Burnt Phone Marketing, because it's powerful, man. I mean, some of the interviews that you had on there talking about people's journeys, talking about the transformation that occurred, and I think that's one of the lost things that people don't realize is it's not necessarily hitting the goal, and that's why it's so important that, like, that challenge that you did, the run, it wasn't running. It was
No.
who you became
Mm-hmm.
in the process. This journey about you being an entrepreneur, it's not about making money, it's about who you become. Money is a byproduct. The
Mm-hmm.
relationships that you've built, the people that you've helped, the lives that you've changed. I mean, that's so powerful. I listened to, so I was joking because on your journey, one of the things that I would do, and one of the things that I encourage anybody listening to this live to do, is if you go onto somebody's Facebook page on a live and on different things, like, don't just like it, love it. Facebook doesn't like likes. If you say you like a post, it's almost like you saying, hey, it's okay. The
Right.
three things that Facebook algorithm picks up right now, it's a love, it's a laugh, and a wow. Those are the big things that it looks for. And what it does is, because Facebook is trying to draw more attention to Facebook, if you put a heart, a laugh, or a love, it basically pauses and it says, okay, if I can get more people to stay on Facebook, it's going to draw more people into that feed. And this is something that I've been learning from the people that are doing it at a high level. So, two things that are going to distract people from your post is your likes. Just a simple like is okay, but it's like, this is so so.
Mm-hmm.
A mad face, right? That is going to draw people away. Or you crying, those things draw people away. Unless it's like a tragic incident,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't want to put those. But I'll tell you what, like I would go on your Facebook feed. I would love your post, and then what's funny is I would always comment.
Mm-hmm.
And on one of the comments, I said, "You must have been listening to Burn Folk Marketing Radio." And you were like, "I haven't published our story." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I just mean like that's what was inspiring you because I saw from I think it was like over a week span, you went from running a certain speed and you were running a 740 mile.
Yeah, I got 747.
That's ridiculous. Like I don't run that right now. And I was like, look, my boy said he doesn't even run. I said, Eric said he doesn't even run. He doesn't even like running. And look at what he's doing. And he did it for 90 days consistently. It's not about what you did, it's about who you became in that. Now
Yeah.
you're running for a cause. You're
Mm-hmm.
running to make a difference for somebody else. Like that's so powerful. And I told you I'm joining you on the next challenge. I don't care if you started it already. I'm coming in. I'm gonna be in there every day with you. We're running every day a mile. We're gonna knock it out.
Nice.
And
Perfect.
and my goal is to do the same thing that you're doing. Right now I got a few friends. I'm lining up a few interviews because I got a friend of mine that we're gonna try to do. We're gonna try to raise some money for the people in the Bahamas that just went through this travesty with this hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
But my mission has been since I started, and I, like you, I listened to Steve Larson. Like I want to do something bigger than myself. My journey when I started going live is to make sure that I can raise enough money so that the next time that my beautiful island of St. Croix, where you have business as well,
Yes.
um, I, I want to make sure that I can help bring the people back to a state of comfort because I remember being there. I remember struggling. I remember not having water. I I was talking to somebody the other day and I was telling them, "Hey, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're okay. I hope that everything is okay." And she said, "LOL. I appreciate it. I'm just filling up my bathtub with water." And I was like, "You gonna take a bath?" And she said, "No. I just know that if I fill my bathtub, I'll have enough water later so that I can take a shower." I
Right.
mean, the things that people don't go through and they say, "Oh, life is hard." Lose everything and then tell me life is hard. Like, shower with cold water every day and tell me life is hard. Take a shower with a bucket or a cup and tell me life is hard. Like, people don't really know what hard is, and that's what's really like driving me and frustrating me and really motivating me is that people talk about all the things that they go through, and I'm just thinking, I just remember my grandmother and my sister not having a roof over their head in 1989. Every house not having power for 4 months. It's crazy. And we talk about hard.
The
Oh, you
internet.
didn't get to eat McDonald's today. You didn't get Starbucks.
Internet. Yeah.
What's that?
The internet's down. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
hard.
The internet's down. I can't. No, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So, man, Eric, it's been a pleasure. I absolutely appreciate you coming on with us. My last question is always to everybody that I do an interview with. Because I'm gonna do the same thing that you're doing. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it on my podcast. I want you to. What is the one message, the one thing that you want to share with everybody watching live today? Anything that you would want to leave them with, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to put a link to your podcast in here, just so that people can kind of like get to know you. Because you do phenomenal work for the people of Alaska. You do phenomenal work all over the world. You have a heart of gold. Truly appreciate you. You've been intentional about investing in your relationship. We've been talking about that consistently about you, just investing in your marriage, and I appreciate you investing in me to invest in you. Right? That's just phenomenal.
Well, it's an honor to be on this live, and it is. It's just so. The one thing that I'd say, and it took me a while to do it, and I'm going to tell a quick story about it. But so 3 years ago, 2 years ago, all of we had a tragedy, and my mother-in-law passed away, and it was right around Christmas time, and we my wife and I went down, and we came back, and I was like, you know what, babe, let's do something different for the kids. Let's do something different for the boys. So I gathered them all up. I took them out to dinner. We had this meeting, and I said, hey guys, here's the deal. I want to do a family cruise with all of you guys,
All
and
seven of the kids.
all of them. All of
Okay.
them couldn't come, but most of them came. So I
Okay.
want to do a family cruise with all of you guys. And we sat down for dinner, and they said, okay, cool, we'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that, we'll do that. I got buy-in from everybody, and I go, so the cruise isn't till May, and this was in December, right after we had got back. And I said, just so you know, this is like Christmas, so Christmas is canceled. And they're like, all right, cool, that's fine, we'll go on a cruise, no problem. And so we went on the cruise, and I didn't know what to expect because at the time, all of our kids were everywhere. They were all doing their own things. Everybody was doing their own thing. We'd never see them. We may have saw them, once every 2 to 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
easy, maybe. Um, After that cruise, we every single day, weekend that we're there, we have a family dinner. So all of
Awesome.
them, so my boys come together, and we always have a family dinner. And what was crazy about that cruise is they all wanted to be with us all the time. So I would say this to people. Um, Number one is be present in the presence.
Mm,
I
that's
mean,
good.
that's one of my biggest things that I like to tell people is be present in the present, in business, in relationships, in family. They can tell when you're not present. And one of my really good friends, he said, you can't, dad just can't give money. He has to give time.
Mm.
So, and I'm like, okay, so it sucks because during my boys growing up, I was always at their games. I never missed a game. That's something my dad instilled in me. I never missed a game. And he, he was always at practices. So I always, that's what he instilled in me, is always be at the boys' games. But I wasn't present in the presence.
Mm.
So I mean, that's one thing that I've learned is be present in the present, and take your cruises are awesome because if you have a family, I'm telling you right now, if you have a family, they can't go nowhere.
Yeah.
They will
They
meet for
stuck.
dinner every single yeah, you will meet for dinner every single night. And that built a trend. Those 7 days built a trend that they would always want to come and hang out with us. And that's one thing that I just say is like you know, there's so much stuff going on, and we have so many things going on, and families here, families there. There's someone in this room, there's someone in that room, there's someone here and somewhere there. Just you gotta get the family together. It's got to be a big deal. I mean, it's got to be important, and it's got to be scheduled because Sunday dinners are real easy,
Yeah.
and it makes a big difference because my youngest is 20, and if we would have done that when he was all the way through grade school, it would have been something that was instilled in him.
Mm.
Now I'm catching up.
Mm.
So now it's instilling him now,
Yeah.
and it's still instilling in all of the family now that Sundays are important. But whatever day that you figure out that is a good family night, I just say be present in the present and have that one family night. If you can't do it 5 times a week, which is awesome, have that one. Have that one where you get everybody together. That's my big out. But that's my big thing that I tell people.
I'm gonna use that. I hope you don't mind me borrowing it. So the two things that I got from what you said was, be present in the present. And one of the things that I talked about is, um, I constantly, share on the lives that one of the things that I struggle with is when I left work and I came home, I wasn't, I was physically present, but I wasn't mentally present. And that's what you're talking about. Be present
Mm-hmm.
in the present. That's powerful. And then you said you can't just give money, you have to give time. Now,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I truly appreciate truly appreciate about you, my friend, is your sincerity, your heart to give, and your honesty. I'm thankful for our relationship. I'm thankful for the journey. Um, I can't wait to see you at future events for us to continue to connect. We'll probably go live together at one of the events.
Yes.
But definitely, we'll stay connected. We got a few new friends on here. We got Jason, Kermit, let's see, Teresa, Darrell, Mariah, Desi. Desi says, hey. And, my friend, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we close tonight?
Guys, I would just say this. Listen to what Chris has. He has some phenomenal content. He showed, if you don't have his book, grab his book because his book is on fire. And just, you know, always be a student. Just keep learning and you'll get better. And like I said, as you build up, you'll get to where you're going. And I'm stealing this from one of my mentors, but it's dream, struggle, victory. And if you realize where you're at in that process and you're using the right frameworks, the sky's the limit for you. So thank you. It was a pleasure being on here. I appreciate it. And it's crazy because we met through an online thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find good people, connect with them and keep them close because they're hard to find.
Mm.
And Chris, I appreciate you. You're a good person. You're a good man. I love what you and your wife do. It's you're changing things. You're changing the world. You're changing. You're making a big vision. Thank you. It was a pleasure being on here. I appreciate it. And
iPad just wanted to do its own thing. Sorry.
all right.
Yeah. No. And I appreciate that. You're right. It's really hard to find people, good people, genuine people, and sincere people. But it's been an honor, a privilege, and you said dream, struggle, victory.
Dream struggle victory.
Dream, struggle, victory. All right. As I always like to close, to everybody on the live, please follow Eric. Make sure that you listen to Burnt Phone Marketing Radio. I mean, phenomenal, phenomenal content. I'm going to put the link in the comments. And as always, from me to you, go out and dominate your space.
Right.